Just want to say to any participants who have started to jump on, thanks for joining us. We are going to kick off here in just a couple of minutes, so just hang tight and the content will start shortly. All right, looks like we've hit the top of the hour, so we'll get started here. This is Cody Cochran with MBSI WAV Business Development. We're really proud to be presenting this webinar today along with Calix. Today's session is going to focus on enhancing the subscriber experience through managed Wi-Fi and fiber. MBSI WAV, we are a proud stocking value-added reseller of Calix. We've been talking for quite some time and we're pretty excited about getting this relationship going. So what better way to really kick things off than host a webinar for our customer base and showing off the Calix solution. Just a couple of things here on the housekeeping side before we get started. The webinar is going to be recorded and we will be uploading it to our social media outlets shortly after we're all done today. So check out our YouTube, LinkedIn pages, Facebook, etc., and you will find links to the recording. If you have somebody internally maybe who needs to see it, or you know somebody that might be interested, or if maybe you want to take another look. If you have any questions or comments during the webinar, please feel free to drop them in the chat window. Nicole, I believe, has sent a message out to everybody there. So please feel free to chime in with questions. We'll do our best to answer the questions as we move through the session. If we don't get a chance to address it during the webinar, we'll do what we can at the end. If we happen to run out of time, we will make sure to personally reach out and address any questions that might be left outstanding. If the chat window doesn't automatically open for you, there is an icon at the bottom of the Zoom window for you to open it. This is also important, so please pay attention during the webinar as we'll be asking a question that will be covered in the content that the guys at Calix here are going to be presenting. The first person to answer correctly, this will be done in the chat window, will win a $100 Amazon gift card. So keep those eyes and ears open during the session. Again, at MBSI WAV, we're very excited about moving forward with Calix. We've been very impressed with what we've seen through their managed Wi-Fi and fiber offerings, and we've seen a lot of customers have a lot of success deploying any of their solutions, essentially. Just a reminder to folks on the MBSI WAV side, we can always help with planning, network design, post and pre-sale support on any piece of a wireless network. So absolutely, we're always here to help. So just going to get ready to kick it over to our friends at Calix here. So presenting today on behalf of Calix will be a portion of their Team Canada, consisting of Chris, Greg, and Jared. As we move along, I'll let them fully introduce themselves as we move, as the presentation moves along. So with that being said, I'm going to pass the mic over to Calix Canada.
All right, thanks a lot, Cody. This is Chris Reckard, and we'll go through the team that's on the call today. But I just wanted to, at a high level, go over what our goals are for this session today. And it's really to just give you a high-level taste of Calix's solutions that apply best to the mainly wireless ISP market and the things that really resonate with the challenges that wireless ISPs are facing today. And that's managed Wi-Fi and potentially overbuilding with fiber. And so, like I said, we're not going to go into any great detail, but what we want to do is create enough interest that it's going to make you want to have a follow-up that we can coordinate through our friends at MBSI, and we'll give you a contact within Calix directly as well. So, as I said, my name's Chris Reckard. I'm the Regional Sales Manager responsible for Western Canada in Calix. And on the call with us today is Jared Kupiec, and he's the Senior Solutions Engineer located in Regina that also handles Western Canada. We've got Jason Pressament, who's the Sales Leader for Canada, and he's located in Toronto. So this is an all-Canada team here, actually. So a bit of a good thing for a U.S. company to invest this heavily in the Canadian marketplace. Mike Cloutier, he's located in Montreal, and he's the account manager for Canada. Greg Owens, he's located in Ottawa, and he's the director of product marketing, focused on managed Wi-Fi solutions. And Dean Day, who is the channel partner director. Unfortunately, he's not Canadian nor in Canada, but we like him anyways. So the mantra of Calix is that really we want to connect everyone and everything. And so we've moved away from box selling to truly solution selling, understanding the service provider challenges and creating an end-to-end solution that helps the service provider market their products and create demand. So why we say that is that we have platforms that basically allows you to build new business models. And it's a lot more than just delivering a very basic service. It's delivering an end-to-end solution. And really, we bring the promise of the smart home and business a reality. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how some of that takes place later on. Okay, so a little bit about Calix. We were founded 20 years ago in 1999, and we're headquartered in California. We have about 1,400 customers worldwide. Now, we say worldwide, however, most of the customers, well over 1,000, are in North America. And where Calix really got its start, and where most of our foothold is in the smaller service provider space within the US. So a lot of the tier 2s and tier 3s. And where that's really important is that we have products and solutions and understand the smaller service providers and can scale up to some of the larger service providers, where other manufacturers that have focused entirely on the large service providers have a real hard time scaling down to the smaller service providers, because honestly, the method of operations for a smaller service provider is significantly different, and the efficiencies that are required if you're a smaller service provider are different than if you've got a staff of thousands. Our revenue last year was $441 million, so we're about a $500 million company, and our market share is we're North America's leader in fiber to the premise solutions by virtue of the number of customers that we have. And we're a publicly traded company, and you can buy and sell our stocks if you so desire. I'm sure after this presentation, you'll be so impressed with us that you'll be buying up our stock like crazy, because you'll see the future is us. We have our focus are the customer challenges of building next generation networks and owning the smart home and business opportunities. So again, the next generation networks is really talking about overbuilding fiber and actually having a true end-to-end solution all the way from the subscriber right through to the service provider. And the evolution today of the smart home market is going to be very, very important. So I'm not going to spend very much time on this, but essentially Calix has three main areas of focus. We have our intelligent access systems that we have an operating system called AXOS around. We have the customer premise side of things, and that's where our EXOS operating system lives. And then we have cloud solutions that help you manage and market and grow your business. We have Calix services underpinning all of that to actually help you build and deliver. And that wraps up the corporate view of Calix. And I'm going to pass the baton over to Greg Owens, who's going to talk about specifically managed Wi-Fi and why it's important for a wireless or any service provider to consider offering managed Wi-Fi. All right, Greg.
Fantastic. Thanks, Chris. I love your introduction of Dean. It reminds me of that old Bob and Doug McKenzie skit where Geddy Lee says, "How come he's not wearing a toque?" And Geddy says, "Well, he's not from the Great White North, eh?" So yeah, Dean, we welcome Dean to the call regardless. Thanks, everybody. My name is Greg Owens. I handle marketing for the premises solutions here at Calix, and I want to talk a little bit today about managed Wi-Fi, specifically as it applies to folks like yourself and WISPs. So go ahead to the next slide, please, Chris.
Okay. Do you want to, you can control.
Oh, actually, yeah. Why don't I request? Thank you. I was supposed to do that. Thank you so much. Okay. So just have a few minutes to talk to everybody today. I'm going to focus on a couple of short topics. First, on the question, slightly rhetorical question on why is Wi-Fi strategic? I want to talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to show you the money. And what I mean by that is in the area of managed Wi-Fi, there's kind of two important platforms that we have to talk about. There's the ability to save significant amount of money by doing managed Wi-Fi. There's also an opportunity to generate some revenue. And I'm going to show you some real examples. We're not going to just talk about highfalutin concepts. We're going to talk about real examples from real service providers, including WISPs like yourself. I'm going to show you just a couple of quick samples at Calix, and Chris hit this right on the head when he said earlier that we specialize in dealing with small service providers. And in fact, we're so dedicated to your business that we understand that you often have small number of resources available, small teams, especially in marketing. So we actually work with a professional design agency, and we have created a whole slew of marketing materials that you can repurpose for your own use, whether it's email campaigns, websites, product photos, bill inserts, you name it. We've got all kinds of materials that you can use for free, blog content, collateral, all that kind of stuff to really give you guys a kickstart in your marketing efforts, because we know that it's a lot easier to modify content than it is to create stuff from scratch. And then Chris is going to give you guys a quick product overview. Okay, for some reason I cannot, there we go. Why is Wi-Fi strategic? So the first thing I want to provide a little bit of context, and at the introduction we heard that there's going to be a skill testing question. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of stats. So it's important that you pay attention in this part because you have a chance to win $100, and $100 is $100. So first, we do a lot of work with different market research firms, and one that we work with most closely is a company called Parks Associates, and they do some amazing research on a quarterly basis with 2,000 US-based households. And we sponsor different research that they do, and this is one result that I took from their Q1 2019 report that I thought was quite interesting, and that is that when customers or consumers or subscribers, I guess in your case, get their Wi-Fi gateways, 39% of them are going and buying their own gateway. Only 61% actually get their router from their service provider. And why is that important? Well, that's important because, oh, next slide. I'm not sure why I don't have control. There we go. Sorry about that. So why is it important for you to provide the gateway in the home and not for the consumer to go out and buy their own? Well, first of all, we know that Wi-Fi is the foundation of the connected home. We know that more than 80% of in-home devices use Wi-Fi to connect to the network. But we also know that Wi-Fi causes problems for consumers. In fact, same research from Parks Associates tell us that among the households that have broadband, 50% of them report some kind of a Wi-Fi issue on a weekly basis. So as you see here, on a weekly basis, 40% of subscribers are saying that my Wi-Fi seems slow, or I'm having Wi-Fi coverage issues, or for some reason it's not working. Or you see the different issues that subscribers are having. And what is, excuse me, what is the solution for most consumers? Well, here's a photo. Oh, actually, I've got ahead of myself, sorry. What does that mean for you as a service provider, having Wi-Fi issues in the home? Well, it means people call your help desk. Here's some results from a survey that we actually did at Calix at the beginning of this year in a couple of webinars that we did. We asked our service provider customers, and 104 of them answered this question: what percentage of your help desk calls are driven by Wi-Fi issues? Well, you'll see the big red part of the pie here shows 43% of our subscribers, of our customers, excuse me, told us that Wi-Fi issues account for between 31 and 50% of their help desk calls. 21% of our customers told us that Wi-Fi accounts for more than half of their help desk calls. So when you add those two pieces of the puzzle together, 64% of service providers are telling us that Wi-Fi drives between 31 and 100% of their help desk calls. So obviously, it's a very important issue that hits in the pocketbook of the service provider. So we know that people are having issues. We know they're calling the help desk. The other thing that they do is they go to Best Buy. So this is a photo of the Best Buy not too far from me, just west of Ottawa. And one of the things that I find really interesting about this, there's an entire aisle of gateways and extenders and mesh Wi-Fi systems and all this kind of stuff. And what I find interesting is that it is the subliminal message that this is sending to a consumer who walks down the aisle and says, holy moly, why do they sell so many devices that are designed to improve Wi-Fi? Is that because Wi-Fi is no good? And you have people who are buying extenders and gateways who sometimes don't even need them. Like Chris will talk about in a minute about our core product, our GigaCenter product, and that Wi-Fi router is a very powerful router and is going to provide adequate coverage for a house, 2,300 square feet. There's only a small percentage of customers, probably around 10 or 15%, who need to have extenders or mesh systems in their home, unless you want to start having Wi-Fi coverage in your backyard and that kind of thing, which is absolutely important for some people. But the reality is most people don't need this. So when people are buying these systems, they're trying to figure them out. They may or may not see an improvement in their Wi-Fi. And then the biggest issue, of course, is if they don't get them working properly, they call your help desk. And it's a very intimidating array of devices that people can choose from. As you'll see here, I fired up Amazon.ca. This is actually about a month old now, and I typed in the word router next to the category computer routers. And as you can see here, I got more than 2,000 results. So it's an intimidating choice that consumers have to make. If you say to them, we're going to provide your connectivity, whether that's with fixed wireless access or GPON or whatever technology, we're going to give you a modem. But as far as the in-home experience goes, you're on your own. You go figure out what router is best. And you can imagine for folks who aren't well versed in technology, to go to these consumer stores and try to figure out the right router for them, it's extremely difficult. And the reality is most consumers would rather get their router or gateway from you. They're a brand that you trust. You are their technology partner. And that is where managed Wi-Fi comes in. So why is it an important strategic initiative? Well, as you'll see here, Amazon and Best Buy through Geek Squad are offering services to come to a consumer's home, do a Wi-Fi test, give them recommendations for what kind of router to buy, and to configure their router. As far as I'm concerned, this is a service provider service. This is not something that these brands should be doing. This they're in your turf here, as far as I'm concerned. And I guess the important thing to point out is these brands would not be investing in this space if they didn't think there was an ROI opportunity. So the reality is, if these brands think that they can do it, then there definitely is a business opportunity. And we feel really strongly that this is an opportunity that you should be providing as the service provider. So when we talk about managed Wi-Fi, what do we mean when we talk about managed Wi-Fi? Let me show you some examples here. So managed Wi-Fi to us is when you provide all elements of the experience for the consumer. So you provide a cloud-based system, which at Calix we call Calix Support Cloud. It uses an industry standard called TR69 that allows for in-home devices like smart home systems like a GigaCenter or other routers and gateways to be managed remotely. You can get visibility of those devices. You can see what Wi-Fi channel they're on, what interference they might be experiencing, what's their Wi-Fi signal strength with their devices, what's their SSID name and password. All of those settings can be managed remotely. Then having the gateway in the home, that's an example of a GigaCenter. And then an optional alternative for managed Wi-Fi is the extender or the mesh system that I mentioned earlier for that 10 or 15% of consumers that either have really large homes or want to have extended coverage in different parts of their property. So managed Wi-Fi holistically is these three elements combined. And why is it better than letting customers bring their own device to the home? Well, first of all, it results in improved customer satisfaction scores. It reduces your churn. It increases revenue opportunities, and it helps to lower your customer support costs. But as I say here, You've heard all this before. Lots of vendors will get up and say, hey, we're going to help you improve your CSAT. We're going to reduce your churn. We're going to do all this stuff. Let me share with you some examples of actual service providers who have done that working with Calix. So these slides are I actually stole these slides from Darren. He is the president of Minnesota Wi-Fi. They're a longtime customer of ours. Him and I did a webinar together a few months ago for another group of WISPs, and these are actually slides that he put together. So I don't want to take the credit for these, but as a bit of background, Minnesota Wi-Fi started in 2012. They provide internet and VoIP services in Minnesota. They have 1,500 square miles, and they go with a managed Wi-Fi system using the GigaCenter. Why did they do that? Well, and they know that Wi-Fi is a big cost for them, right? People that have Wi-Fi issues, I should say, is a big cost for them. I mentioned earlier how many Wi-Fi issues drive help desk calls. Well, in the case of Minnesota Wi-Fi, they told us that 70 to 80% of their calls are caused by Wi-Fi. So that's much, much higher than the industry average. Darren feels that this hurts their reputation because for a lot of consumers, and I really agree with this point very strongly, Wi-Fi equals internet. So bad Wi-Fi equals bad internet. Very few people can distinguish the difference between if it's the Wi-Fi or it's the access network that's causing the issue. So really, providing connectivity to the customer premises and then saying, you guys worry about the in-home experience yourself is not the right approach. The home network and the access network are merging together and it's becoming one network. And with managed Wi-Fi, you can control that entire experience. So in the case of Minnesota Wi-Fi, they used to have a BYOR, I call it BYO, calls it bring your own router. And that's a common method for most service providers. And of course, that causes problems. Do you set minimum requirements? Do you recommend certain brands? And how do you provide them with support if they have problems with those devices? And as Darren asks here with great emphasis, why would you do it for free? If they're not getting that device from you and they're calling you for support, why are you troubleshooting that issue for free? So what they do instead now is they offer a managed router. So they don't feel that they should be supporting other people's equipment. And they know that there's lots of different solutions available. But as I mentioned earlier, with the Support Cloud product, you have increased visibility into the home network. So as Darren outlines here, you can see the signal strength of people's devices. You can see retransmit issues. You can see fire rates. There's a whole shopping list of information that you can provide. And that's extremely powerful when a customer calls your help desk, as opposed to you saying to them, oh my gosh, what kind of router do you have? What brand is it? When was the last time the firmware was upgraded? Consumers don't know this, right? And how would you expect them to know this? You need to have that information at your fingertips so that you can troubleshoot their issues much more efficiently. So what are the benefits of a managed router? So Darren points out, you get paid for Wi-Fi issues that you already support for free. For them, it's been an increase in ARPU between $5 and $12 per month. And I know that's a big number for a lot of people, so I'll say it again, between $5 and $12 per month. And I've got another example of a service provider that's generating additional ARPU from managed Wi-Fi. Or some service providers are including the price of the managed Wi-Fi in the cost of the internet package. So you might adjust your internet tiers by $10 a month, for example, and give the router away for free. That's a strategy that some of our service provider customers use. As you mentioned, the benefit is it helps you diagnose problems remotely, which we talked about. And then, of course, if your Wi-Fi works great, then your internet works great. And you're spending all of this time making sure that they get 25 megs, 100 megs, or a gig, depending on the access technology that you're using. Why not make sure that they're getting that same experience in the home? And of course, as Darren points out, a lot fewer help desk calls. So I just have a quick one-slide summary of another customer that we work with. They're not a WISP, but this was a really interesting use case. This is another slide that a customer designed for us. This was designed by the marketing manager for Consolidated Telecommunications. They're both based in Dickinson, North Dakota. And Rhonda Fitterer is their marketing manager. And her and I did a panel session together last year. And I thought it was interesting because about a third of Consolidated subscribers are on a managed Wi-Fi service. And the other 2/3 are on a bring their own device plan, which means Consolidated provides the internet. A lot of cases it's fiber. And then the subscriber just provides their own router. And I asked Rhonda, this would be a really interesting use case for us. Let's compare the effort required to support a customer who's on a GigaCenter with Support Cloud versus a customer who is not. So this is their results. 85% faster resolution when a call comes in, which in terms of monetary value is a $20 savings per trouble ticket. They're able to resolve customer issues the first time 94% of the time. That is an extremely, extremely high number. I would even be willing to admit it's probably an anomaly. We see this number in the 60 or 70% range all the time with customers. We very rarely see it this high, but what first call resolution means, for those of you that aren't familiar, customer calls with an issue that their Wi-Fi is slow, for example. The technician or the customer service rep resolves the issue. If the customer calls again within a certain period of time, and for most service providers, they define that period as 30 days, then that issue was not resolved right the first time. Consolidated is saying with Support Cloud, with the gigacenters in people's homes, they were able to resolve the issues right the first time, 94% of the time. And most importantly for Consolidated, because they're in a huge service territory, they had a 50% reduction in truck rolls. They are half as likely to have to send a technician to the home to resolve the issue as they were initially. Now, Consolidated is working really hard to get this number even higher. They want to reduce field technician deployment significantly, and they're doing that by marketing managed Wi-Fi. And that gets to the very last point on my slide here, which is, although 33% of their total customer base, which is just short of 16,000 subscribers, have managed Wi-Fi, they are doing an active promotion of managed Wi-Fi. And when they find that when they clearly explain the benefits of managed Wi-Fi to consumers, 80% of them take it, and Consolidated charges $4.99 a month. So how much revenue does $4.99 a month mean for Consolidated? It's $306,000. This is their 2018 incremental revenue generated by offering managed Wi-Fi to those 4,000 subscribers, 5,000 subscribers, which is a third of their total base, and charging $5 a month, $306,000. So as I said at the top, show me the money. It's about cost savings, but it's all about revenue generation as well. So quick benefits for your subscribers. And this is just my way of giving you guys some friendly advice on the messages that we find resonate most clearly with subscribers when you explain the benefits. As I just said, Consolidated has launched a big effort, and a lot of our other customers are doing this as well, to explain to consumers what managed Wi-Fi is. So first, simplicity is a very powerful message that resonates with consumers. You're offering them a best of breed of solution that removes the stress of them having to go to Best Buy or Walmart or Radio Shack or The Source or wherever it might be, walk up and down the aisles, try to figure out what device is best for them. This is a proven product. In the case of the Giga Center, we've deployed more than 1.2 million of these devices all around the world, and it's a very reliable product. Peace of mind. The product comes with a warranty. So all Giga Centers come with a 1-year warranty, and you can purchase a 3-year warranty for a very low price as well, which means you never have to worry about the device breaking or not working without being able to replace it. And a consumer doesn't have to worry about the device becoming out of date or breaking down. And that's extremely important for a lot of consumers, as we see in point number 3, which is reliability. I think has come to terms with the fact that technology is not designed to last very long. We get a new smartphone every 18 to 24 months. Seems like we're always having to replace devices in our homes more often than we would like. The payback period for a Giga Center, we think conservatively you can build your business plan around 36 months, but we have lots of service providers that are doing it in 42 months. Some of them are doing it in 30 months. It's up to you depending on what you want to charge, but that product is reliable, and we have a very, very low failure rate on those devices. So you have an absolute strong leg to stand on talking about reliability. And of course, we have affordability. When I talk about affordability, this obviously is in your court, determined by how much you want to charge for this service. And I've included a few Canadian examples here on this slide. We see Silo Wireless, who are operating north of Toronto. They charge $15 a month to lease a Giga Center. And we see it as low as $2.95 a month for Hurontel. And T-Baytel, which just launched a big campaign with us a few months ago in April, they include the Giga Center with all their high-speed internet services over 100 megs, I believe it is. And then Hey Communications also includes it for free. So there's lots of different strategies that you can, and I'm not intended to be prescriptive here and to tell you how you should be monitoring or managing and monetizing your services. This is just to give you an idea for some of the messages that resonate and some of the different price points. And I'm trying to be aware of time here, so I'll try to quickly go through this. I mentioned earlier that we provide marketing material. Go through all the samples here. There's just way too much to look at, but there's a link. If you are to go to calix.com, and you can either jot down this URL, I know it's kind of unwieldy, but even easier, if you go to calix.com, And we have a navigation at the top. One of them is called service providers, and we have different categories of customers, and we have a category called WISP. If you go to that page, there's a link to the marketing materials site. In fact, there's also a link from the GigaCenter page and the GigaSpire page, and almost all of our premises product pages have a link to this marketing material where you can download all kinds of content. I mentioned educational materials. We have over 22-page fact sheets. These can either be taken and posted on your website. You can take a logo on it. You can take this text and borrow it, cut and paste it into blogs, email campaigns. There's absolutely no limit to what you can do with this content. It was designed for you guys to use any way that you see fit. And again, just to get the creative juices flowing a little bit, because I know it's really, really difficult when you have small marketing teams to create a lot of content. So educational videos. We have 9 really fantastic videos up on our site. Most of them are less than 30 seconds long that give people little tips like don't put your router in the basement, don't put it next to your appliances, you know. A lot of them are done with humor. They're totally available for you guys to use on your social media pages. We have a lot of different customers that have done that very effectively to get the word out. We call it digital dilemmas. And last but not least, also on our site, we have all kinds of samples from different service providers. What have they done to market their services? Again, to get the creative juices flowing, these campaigns obviously are not meant for reuse because they're branded by the specific provider, but hopefully it'll give you and your marketing team some ideas on how you can market these services. And I will shut up now and hand it off to the next speaker. Thanks everybody for your attention, and I'll stick around in case there's any questions.
Great, thanks a lot, Greg. That was fantastic. So this is Chris again, and just want to kind of talk about the, oh, what's going on here? Oh, anyways, so I was a little surprised. It's not the slide I expected. So what Greg said about the value proposition and the business case on managed Wi-Fi really is requires 2 pieces. You need great Wi-Fi and a great product to deliver Wi-Fi in the home, and you need a really great management system. And those 2 things together really deliver the value of managed Wi-Fi. And so I'm going to talk to you about a little bit about our management platform first, and then talk about the hardware platform. So you know, this is essentially a recap of what Greg had said. So, you know, most of your trouble calls are related to Wi-Fi, and you'll have crashes. You know, Wi-Fi is too slow. Over the top is becoming prevalent in today's in-home environment. And you know, most of the Wi-Fi issues are caused by signal blockages within the premises and interference from nearby access points and interference from non-Wi-Fi signals. There's a lot of other pieces of equipment that use the same spectrum and bandwidth that Wi-Fi uses, and they interfere with one another and create issues. So really what you need to see is more than what you see today. So your visibility of your subscriber today is really around the service tier they have, how much they pay a month, probably the type of gateway they have, and how much data they're consuming. But what really provides value is if you know what's really going on in their home. Do they have IoT devices? Do they have a home monitoring system? You know, do they require, what's their Wi-Fi coverage like within the home? You know, what's their Wi-Fi score? And what are the top applications they're using? Are they gamers? Are they streamers? Are they a combination of all of those things? And you know, really understanding what's going on in the home is a lot different than just delivering a pipe to the home. And so, you know, the key to fixing a problem, and this goes back to what Greg had said, is that most of the trouble calls that come in, my internet's broken. The internet's not broken to their home, but there's an issue within their home. And really, what we've developed is a product that essentially has the instrumentation, automation, and analytics to provide fast and efficient problem resolution. So it gives you the ability to see a site scan of what's going on, where the interference is, and you know, allows you to really, the first call resolution becomes extremely high. And so, you know, the the traditional way, and probably what's going on today, is when somebody calls in, the first thing you say is, what's your number and how can I help you? Unplug it, plug it back in. Do you even know where your router is? It's a long process, and the call time it takes a long time, and the chances of fixing it are often low and requires a truck roll. And the whole gist of managed Wi-Fi is to reduce those truck rolls and give you the insight and the analytics to be able to quickly diagnose the problem. And so what's on the right side of the screen is the opening page of our support cloud window. And it's basically a dashboard that when the subscriber calls in, they're able to see what their WAN connectivity is like, and it's green, yellow, red. And is the gateway okay? What's the Wi-Fi like? Are there issues with client devices? And it allows the CSR to quickly click on and dig into the potential issues that might be having or have led to the problem call coming in the first place. And so, that's really just the really high level of what Support Cloud is and does. And we can't really do it justice without going through a proper demo and deep dive. And so what we'd really like to invite you is to provide some sort of a demo and deep dive with you, and schedule a follow-up presentation if something like Support Cloud is a good fit. And we have contact information in this presentation as well. Who the MBSI contacts are, and we can work with you to make this happen. So the second part of managed Wi-Fi is great Wi-Fi coverage. And so our in-premise solution is mainly the Giga Center, and that's where we've had most of the rollout so far. And I'll talk a little bit about the next gen product that we're looking at launching in Canada very shortly as well. So the 844E is our main unit. It's got 2 POTS ports, 4 GigE ports, 802.11n, so 2.4 gig, 2x2, and 5 gigahertz, 4x4. And we have a few flavors for specific solutions, but if you are a wireless ISP and you're delivering Ethernet to the home, the 844E is probably the best product. And again, we have all kinds of material and help stuff to allow the subscriber to appropriately place it, or the tech to appropriately place the product. And we also have a mesh solution. And so the 804 mesh is our mesh box. It's about 4 inches by 5 inches by 6 inches high. And I realize I'm Canadian, but inches still work for me. And essentially what we've done is made it extremely easy to have a self-install process. And so, if you've got a subscriber that's having Wi-Fi coverage issues, their Wi-Fi is great on their main floor, but there's a kid's bedroom upstairs somewhere that's having real issues, or they've got a garage that they want Wi-Fi coverage enhanced in it's something that you can just ship out to the customer and have them self-install. We've got essentially a super easy setup system, WPS button on both the Giga Center and the 804 mesh. We've got LEDs that allow you to properly place it, make sure it's not too close, make sure it's not too far. You can either have it connected via a wired connection or wireless. Wired is obviously preferable most of the time, because the backhaul channels aren't being used, but wireless is incredibly easy. And it's like the Giga Center, 802.11 BG and N, 2x2 and 4x4 5 gigahertz channels. And it's like I said, extremely easy to deploy. And what we've got coming out later on this year is our Giga family solution. and it's running our latest software platform that I flagged on the towards the beginning of these slides, and it's a very interesting product in that it has embedded in it pretty much, well, it has 802.11ac or AX or Wi-Fi 6, and Apple just announced their new phones are going to be supporting Wi-Fi 6. The Samsung Galaxy 10s all have Wi-Fi 6, and it's going to become much more prevalent, and it's going to be important to be able to support that in your home gateways. It also is able to support pretty much all IoT technologies, so Zigbee, Z-Wave, Bluetooth, and low power Bluetooth, that most of the home security systems, smart home products, so Philips Hue and all the smart bulbs generally use one of those protocols, and it also has a speaker and a microphone. So what that enables are applications, voice recognition applications. So one of the first ones that we've done is had Amazon Alexa as part of this overall, and so you can actually talk to it and control your IoT devices through it. So it's also configurable as either a gateway or a satellite. So it can be a mesh unit as well. And so we have two flavors of that. One, the Max, is the fully equipped version that has all of the IoT devices and the voice recognition. We've got a basic gateway that's very much next gen gigacenter like, that supports Wi-Fi 6, and both those devices, like I said, are going to be available in Canada later on this year. They're available in the US right now. We have some information privacy requirements within Canada that we have to meet, so that it won't be available in Canada for a little bit still. So having gone through that, I am going to hand it off to Jared, who is going to talk to fiber to the home. Jared?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted there, and I had to wait for somebody to unmute me. But before we get rolling on kind of the fiber aspect, I think we had a poll question we were going to ask everybody, so maybe we'll pause here.
Oh, I forgot about those.
Yeah, so I think it's up now, so I'll give everybody a quick second to respond to that, and then we can take a quick look at the results. And then I guess I'll request access, Chris.
Yeah,
oh, you gave me to me, okay. Is that enough time? All right, so the results looks like well over half, I think, looking at potentially either already offering a solution or looking to offer a solution, and a fair amount still, I guess, on the fence, not really considering it at this point. So,
cool.
All right. Okay, so yeah, so we'll switch gears here a little bit. I'm going to really kind of move away from the prem side of it, talk more about, maybe why some of the rural operators, wireless operators, regional carriers should be looking at fiber as part of their service offer. So I wanted to kind of just take a quick step back and just look at the Canadian market a little bit and contextualize it a bit. We hear everybody says the amount of internet or the amount of traffic on the internet is growing. What does it actually look like in Canada, and then what does it look like in some of the demographics across Canada? And so a couple of things that I pulled from some CRTC reporting. So this would have been current as of beginning of 2008, and they update this every year. So the link is there, and we should be seeing new statistics shortly, but I expect a lot of the trends to be continuing. And really what it's saying is just as we would expect. Canadians are continuing to use more data on a monthly basis with their internet access. They're subscribing to faster and larger packages when available. And really from an ARPU perspective, they are allocating more more of their monthly income towards their internet services, and sometimes that's attrition from from video to over the top and spending more on internet for those types of things. But I think there's an opportunity here is what we're seeing. And if you look at some of the trending, obviously in the bottom one, you see usage going up year over year quite substantially. And that can be probably attributed to a lot of the video traffic and over the top and those types of things. And then you also see this migration to higher speed internet services as well in the top chart. And I say it's a fairly rapid decline year over year on the lower end of there's less than 16 megabits there. And I was quite surprised to see that the top line, the 50 meg plus, actually growing at that type of rate. And given the current CRTC mandate around 5010, it kind of begs the question: is that target maybe a little too small, given the actual adoption that we're seeing from subscribers? And so, and if we look at the right hand or the left hand side, I circled in red where there's potential opportunity. I think, right, you see a fairly high saturation of available internet packages, all the way up to 100 meg plus in the larger population centers. But in the smaller population centers and the rural areas, there's definitely work to be done there in terms of delivering the speeds that customers are expecting. And they're really being underserved. And a lot of you guys that are on this call probably are playing in that area. And so we really feel there's an opportunity there. And it begs the question of what are we actually going to deliver, right? Are we just delivering according to the technologies that we're used to using, or according to some of the metrics on the right-hand side? Is there a need to really stretch our targets and develop technologies and deploy technologies that can get us further than what we're capable of delivering, perhaps with wireless? So what do we really see as driving this investment in fiber? And it really comes down to, I think, these are three areas, but probably more than this. But customer experience, potential competition, and then regulatory frameworks and the funding. So we'll kind of speak to these shortly. And I'm not going to dive into any of the detailed solution information. We're just going to kind of hit these on a high level, but we're definitely interested in furthering conversations with you guys if fiber is kind of on your radar. So, we got to kind of start asking ourselves, are we at risk? And we'll do a poll here as well, just to kind of gauge where you guys are at in your decision making and your deployment. I imagine a lot of you guys are focusing on the rural areas and some of the smaller towns and villages and cities. And it's really, are we asking ourselves, could we compete if somebody came and overbuilt us with a competitive fiber network? And I think it's not necessarily a question of, whoops, so let's go back to that. It's probably not a question of if, it's probably a question of when. And obviously the when is the $1 million question. But probably the answer for most of you guys would be you would have a hard time competing in say a small urban center if somebody brought fiber in there and all you had was wireless infrastructure. And that's really where we see the opportunity for a lot of the WISPs is targeting these pockets of subscribers that you can make a viable business case on and solidify yourself for the future. And then you start asking, well, who are my typical competitors? And maybe it's Shaw and TELUS, but increasingly we're seeing a lot of the WISPs competing with each other, looking for growth opportunities in their markets. So kind of crossing the tower boundaries. But it also increasingly on the blind side, we're seeing municipalities and utilities kind of entering this market. And they're both a threat and an opportunity. They're most municipalities don't really want to be their own service provider, but they definitely probably want to partner with somebody and they can help make it financially viable because they have obviously different business metrics than generating an ROI in a year or two. So there's definitely opportunity there for partnerships on the municipality front. So maybe we'll just pause and just ask the next poll question around fiber and kind of really more specifically on fiber to the home, I think is really what we're kind of getting at. But understanding that a lot of you guys probably still are deploying fiber to towers and things like that.
We're gonna have to get the Jeopardy music for next time we do these polls. Just thinking, yeah, I was kind of singing that in my head.
Yeah. All right, we could probably close it down and take a look. So probably again a lot are deploying fiber. You know, a big chunk considering it, and a bigger chunk not really considering it this time. And so kind of interested in maybe some follow-up conversations on the no's, on why, and why you don't see that as an opportunity, what's different with your business, those types of things. Obviously, you know, we can bring a lot of partners to the table, help with some education, learning, those types of things that can maybe help further that decision-making process for you. All right, so, you know, when it comes to fiber, you know, I mentioned customer experience, and I don't think any service provider goes out of their way to deliver a bad customer experience, but sometimes it's a little bit out of your control. You know, we really have to kind of take a step back and ask ourselves, is the infrastructure we're deploying really capable of delivering the services that consumers are wanting from us and actually want to subscribe to? And our networks being deployed reliably, and are they delivering the performance that customers are expecting on a consistent basis? And then how can we do that over the long term without a constant evolution of technology and infrastructure upgrades and churning through technology to continue up with the pace? And so if we really, you know, it goes beyond just delivering bandwidth to the home. It's all aspects of the business, and we talk obviously a lot about the home experience as part of the customer experience, but really fiber provides you a lot of that foundation for delivering an exceptional experience and a quality experience for your subscribers over the long term. And so from our learnings and all the other operators we work with in the US and in Canada, you know, we kind of take away a couple lessons learned, and you know, some ideas of how we can make fiber a successful strategy, especially in rural areas. And the reality is, whoever builds fiber is the guy who wins. It's fiber first. You know, the first mover advantage is real, and it's necessary, because if somebody else comes into your territory, builds fiber to a pocket of your subscribers, there's a good chance you're going to lose a significant market share of those subscribers, and you're not going to be able to win them back, because the business case probably doesn't make sense, given you're going to share market penetration. But if you can be in there first, generally we see operators achieve very high market penetration rates, because there is a lot of pent-up demand, especially in the rural areas, and that's validated in a lot of the metrics that we saw earlier. But velocity is one of the key aspects of, you know, the fiber deployment as well, and it can't be understated. It's how do you get from, you know, the spend to getting cash flow as quick as possible. You know, there's obviously a big project involved in deploying fiber on the poles and the grounds, permitting, all those types of roadblocks that can get in your way, and putting a team in place, getting partners in place to make that happen as quickly as possible is essential to generating a good ROI very quickly for you. We generally see fiber-based networks have a much lower operating expense overall, partly due to no electronics in the outside plant. You know, it's all passive. Fiber is just generally very reliable from a service delivery perspective, very few troubles. So it's really, you know, comes down to troubles in the home and, you know, equipment failures and those types of things, which are generally with Calix far and few between. So the operating side is something that's often overlooked, but can usually have a fairly significant impact to the overall business case of deploying fiber in certain pockets. And we've seen operators make positive business cases deploying fiber to very, very rural residents throughout the US and even in Canada through our discussions with some of the operators. Generally achieving very high customer satisfaction with the services that are delivered, and fiber is really just future-proofing you. It's once it's in the ground, increases from a service perspective are just upgrading electronics at that point. And just to quickly touch on the regulatory funding side of it, so I already mentioned the 50/10 universal service objective from the CRTC. I would start to argue that maybe that objective is a little bit low. So I think we really need to kind of flip it around and look at it more from a customer perspective on not what are we mandated to get funding, but what are we actually trying to deliver for the customer and what does the customer expect? Because 5010 may, how long is 5010 going to get us is really the question. And so the CRTC has this broadband funding program that was announced. I think we're in year 1, targeting underserved areas. So there's a pile of money going to be available over the next 5 years, and hopefully it doesn't go away after the election. I anticipate it'll probably increase with increased focus on these underserved rural areas. And it's applicable to any type of access build or transport or mobile projects. So very flexible in accommodating whatever the needs are. And maybe it's just starting building fiber to your towers instead of moving on these facilities to provide that foundation for future access growth into pockets of subscribers. So encourage you to start looking at these funding mechanisms if you aren't already doing so, and Calix can come alongside you, put you in contact with various consultants that are very familiar with these processes, getting applications in, making sure all the wording is correct and the scope is correct. So have a conversation with us, and we can help where necessary. And then we also see a lot of local government, provincial, municipal opportunities and partnerships with municipalities, and especially on the smaller operator side, we see these municipality partnerships popping up quite frequently. And the municipalities seem eager when the incumbents aren't coming into the area to build better broadband infrastructure. In a lot of cases, they see this as being necessary for continued growth in the communities and making the communities viable for the long term. The broadband infrastructure is a necessity, and it attracts residents and keeps residents and attracts business as well. And a lot of municipalities are willing to fund a lot of these initiatives through a partnership with the service provider, through reserves, and they can make a different business model around it because they're not out to necessarily make money on the infrastructure, and they can fund it through reserves and various grants and levies and those types of things. So I encourage you to start having those conversations with councils and municipalities in your area. I'm sure there's opportunities out there that can be uncovered, and Calix is willing to assist you in that as well. And so I'm just going to kind of shift gears now, talk a little bit about fiber technology, a couple slides, kind of go through a quick high-level overview of the Calix solutions before we wrap up at the end. So right now, the predominant topology is PON, so passive optical networks, so single fiber split multiple ways into distributed out to the subscribers. Various technologies can run over that PON architecture. GPON is really the market choice, the mature choice at this point. We're kind of in this influx now where the 10 gig PON is starting to ramp. So in certain cases, 10 gig PON targeted, maybe the high end service on residential or businesses. So, the whole idea though is that it's upgradable, right? Like I said, once fiber's in the ground, it's upgrading electronics, upgrading customer prem equipment, same fiber, same architecture, no rework in the outside plant to accommodate future technologies. And the standards have done a great job of ensuring that when you design a network to a certain physical characteristic, link budget, et cetera, that you can further extend that outside plant for further future technologies. So if you started with GPON with a certain outside plant design that was within spec, you can further extend that network to the 10 gig PON flavors, and then hopefully they'll continue the trend with technology evolution into 25 gig, 50 gig PON, 100 gig PON down the road. So there's not, they can coexist on the same fiber or obviously deploy into independent PONs, but the whole point is it's future proof. You can upgrade, add technology flavors, upgrade customers as necessary. So it really gives you the capacity you need going forward to compete in a market. And so I'll just quickly highlight some of the Calix solutions. So we have a plethora of different access systems, E32, E72, E92, each kind of targeted at unique service requirements and deployment scenarios, whether it be very fiber deep in a remote hardened type location, potentially cabinets or small COs, or high density applications. Each is kind of tailored to individual service installation requirements, all running our latest AXOS software operating system, whose goal is primarily based around speed of delivery and simplicity of operations and simplicity of network deployments, with the goal of really trying to simplify your business overall. So if you're adopting new technology, it shouldn't be a headache, it shouldn't be a heavy lift. You should be able to roll forward in a very agile manner without significantly changing operations. And we've attempted to do a lot of that heavy lifting for you through the simplification automation that we've built into AXOS. And there's a whole slew of other features, functions under the covers that we can get into in a follow-up discussion around what we've done with AXOS. On the ONT side, we have a plethora of different ONT options, everything from residential gateways, as we already highlighted, for managed Wi-Fi, to hardened outdoor units, maybe using them for tower backhaul, things like that, MDUs, special circuits. So plethora for individual service requirements of what might be required. And we can get into details of that on further follow-up sessions as well. And then I'll just close by just highlighting the Calix services. So we have a very experienced team that works with service providers all around the world, from all aspects of deploying network, outside plant or electronic equipment, Calix or otherwise. If you're looking for some support around design, so maybe evaluating a couple projects to determine viability from a business case perspective, we can certainly come alongside you and help you in a number of areas and bring partners to the table that are with the expertise to help you work through those decisions. And I think we're kind of hitting the hour, so I'll hand it back over to Cody and to wrap up and close out.
Awesome. Thank you, Jared, and to the rest of Team Canada at Calix. They're great content. Sorry, everybody. I know we kind of went right to the end, but lots of great information to get across. Maybe a lot to take in. So if you do have any additional questions, comments, if you would like more of a one-on-one session with the folks at Calix, please do reach out to your MBSI WAV sales rep, or you can just email us at sales@mbsiwave.com to get a hold of the sales team. That being said, let's get prepared to do our skill testing question here. So I'll just give everybody a few seconds just to get their chat windows open and their quick typing fingers ready, and then I'll rattle off the question. Its first correct answer typed is the big $100 winner. So I'll just give a few more seconds there. All right. What percentage of households purchase their Wi-Fi gateway from a source other than their broadband provider? Oh, okay. We got answers coming in. Andrew, you are our. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I think that's right.
Yeah. Andrew is our. Andrew was first, so we had a lot of quick draws there.
Yeah, quick on the gun.
Thank you all very much. Andrew will be in touch with you to get you your gift card. Again, everybody, we really appreciate you attending. I know time is the most valuable resource we all have. Again, please get in contact with your sales rep at MBSI WAV if you want any additional information. Again, we will be posting a recording to our social media, so if there's anything you want to have a look at again or pass along, please feel free to do so. MBSI WAV, we will be doing more of these webinars in the future as we try to consistently do, so we'll be making sure to send out invites personally for those upcoming sessions. So that being said, thank you very much, Team Calix. Thank you very much to Nicole and the rest of the MBSI WAV team for helping make this happen, and most of all, thank you to all our attendees. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll be in touch soon. If not, see you at WISPs next week.
All right, thanks a lot. Have a great day.
All right, thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.